Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon.
Yes, over to you, Anisa. Yeah, it's time to to hand over to you and
Yes,
please go ahead. Over.
Asif, let me introduce I am Mohammad Akram, Education Officer for UNICEF. I just request everyone to mute your mic when you are not talking. And if you have any question, you can raise your hand. There is an option for raise your hand. Otherwise, you can send your question in the chat box. Secondly, I would also request to send your name, your organization and designation in the chat box that we can extract your data from chat box as well. So thank you very much.
Okay, a very good morning. A very good morning to everybody. Of course, here in New Zealand, it's good evening, but it's a 7-hour time difference. I'm so pleased that you could all join the training today. I hope that you'll be able to understand my accent. I have a very strange accent, which is a combination of being British and Kiwi and living in Asia most of my life. And Asif and Akram are going to help me if any translation is needed. So today we are here to facilitate training for you as master trainers who are going to be facilitating training to education officials across the province of Sindh for a very, very important topic, which is to support the safe reopening of schools after COVID-19. So I'd like to thank you all very much for agreeing to undertake this very important task. Could you please mute your mics? Please, could you mute your mics? And you don't need to have your video on. If you could please mute your mics. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about me. It's very, very difficult doing training online. And when you start the training tomorrow and over next week, you will also find it very interesting and very rewarding to do a completely different kind of training. So it's always really important to know a little bit about your trainers. And today we have 3 trainers. So we have Asif and Akram, who I hope all of you know, who are based in Karachi working for UNICEF. And as I said, I'm Vanessa, and I'm very new to UNICEF. I joined 5 months ago on the 1st of May. I have 2 children who are nearly 18 and about to go to university next year. I have worked all over Asia, but my most recent posting was 2 years with UNESCO in Afghanistan. So that was a very challenging posting for me. And I'm very much looking forward to coming to Karachi and Pakistan to explore your wonderful country. And of course to go to some cricket matches because I'm very fond of cricket. So I'm really hoping to be able to see some cricket once COVID-19 has gone away. So let's start the training. I'm going to go through a few introductory slides with you just to orientate us to this kind of training because it's quite different from face-to-face training. So we've asked you if you could go to this link and complete this pre-session evaluation. There is also a link on the WhatsApp group. So I would appreciate if we could just spend 2 minutes doing that. I can tell at the moment nobody, only 1 or 2 people have completed this. So what I would like you to do, if possible, is to type this URL into your phone or into your computer and just answer the 5 short questions. So I'm going to ask Akram, Asif, if you could just check if anybody's got their hands up because I can't tell. And let's just give everybody 2 or 3 minutes to complete this survey. And if you can't find it, please could you just put a comment in the chat box. So Asif and Akram, over to you just to read some of the comments in the chat box and to just reiterate, please filling to go and complete this survey now.
Yeah, so far no comments in the chat box regarding monkey survey.
Oh, okay.
Few people have completed. They are responded. They have completed.
Great. Yes, if you could please put in the chat box when you have completed the survey, that would be great.
यो जो को है ना via audio इन्हें क्लिक करो.
If you could please mute your mics unless you're speaking. Akram, how are we doing with the number of people who have completed it? Yeah, it is. Okay, well, you can just keep completing that whilst we just give you a little bit of information about how the training is, how we're going to do the training this morning. So we're going to start with just a short introduction to online training etiquette. And when you do this over the next week, it's important that you also do this stage as well. Now, one of the reasons why we've put two trainers together is it's very difficult online to listen to the same voice for the whole session. So Asif, Akram and myself will be doing different parts of the training so that you as the trainees today will hear different voices and will be able to concentrate for different lengths of time. Because although we've made it as interactive as possible, a lot of it is sort of like listening skills, which is very different in a face-to-face session. We've tried to embrace a participatory approach and using some of the higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy. We would like you, if possible, to have a notebook and a pen so that you can write things down. We're going to use the chat box and we might experiment with the whiteboard a little bit later. It's really important at this very early stage to say that we don't have all the answers to the questions and the discussion that we'll have today. And you won't have all the answers when you're doing the training over the next week. That's okay. That's okay because we have a lot of support documentation, and as we know, things are changing all the time. So this training is an opportunity to raise some of the discussion questions and for you to be aware of some of the questions that your trainees will ask you. We are just going to share with you in terms of online etiquette how to take part in Zoom training. So we've already mentioned microphone on silent. I think that's very good for all of you. Oh, we just have to say yes, the meeting's being recorded. There is a hands up next to the participants list where you can raise your hand to ask a question. Akram and Asif will keep an eye on that whilst I'm talking so that we can invite questions. There are breakout rooms on Zoom, which we're not using today, but those of you who are very innovative trainers might like to experiment with that either in your training or in future training. And we're using SurveyMonkey as a pre and post test. Please could you put your mute on silent? Please mute your mic. So this is the Zoom the Zoom interface. Please could you mute your mic? This is the Zoom interface. I hope you're all really familiar with it now. We've been doing Zoom calls and Zoom training for a long time. I'm using the shared screen at the bottom of the at the bottom of the screen, and it gives information here about how many participants there are. There is a chat box for you to click on and make comments. Akram, could you please remind everyone to put their mic on mute?
और माइक म्यूट कर दें.
Akram, I think you're the host and you can actually mute everybody if it keeps going. So these are just the Zoom features that I wanted to remind you about, and you will get a copy of this training, and I've put a link at the bottom to a quick start guide for participating in Zoom meetings that might be helpful for you. So there are some key documents which the Department of Education have developed to support the reopening of schools, and I hope that you have got all of these documents. And if you haven't got the documents, they will be sent to you shortly, but I think that they were sent out. So first of all, we have the Department of Education's post-COVID SOPs for operating schools, a very important document to read and be familiar with. There is a safe reopening of school guide. Some of the parts of that guide we're going to look at this morning. We've also developed with the department a children's safe reopening of school guide to encourage children to talk about their experiences, to be leaders in supporting each other in the safe reopening of schools, which we will be distributing with the department to some of the schools in Sindh. And very recently published are some health guidelines for schools reopening during COVID-19. And is another important document for you to read. So just some tips as you're the master trainers here. So we're learning together. Don't be afraid of the technology. It's here to help and support us. It's just a different environment for us. We're going to try and model a few different interactive techniques and participatory techniques for you, for your training, and to make the session as interactive as possible. We're going to try out a whiteboard feature later on, and possibly the breakout rooms. We'll see how we do for time. I think the important thing as trainers, we know that less content is more learning. So we're not going to try and give lots and lots of content. We're going to try and engage in some discussion and critical thinking. And we're going to give specific times for input, for discussion, and for feedback. So let's have a look at the goals of the training. So what I'd like you to do first of all, I know it's very difficult because you're probably all at home or in your office, just in your notebook, could you write down 3 personal goals that you would like to achieve by the end of this training? So for example, by the end of this training, I would like to, if you could just write those down, 3 goals, which we'll review at the end of the training, and then if you could write one of them in the chat box. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to write that down, and then I'm going to ask Akram to read some of them out. And I'm going to put a timer on my phone so that we know when 2 minutes is up. So I've just started the 2 minutes timer now, and you can do this and share that with your participants as well.
चैट में
Akram, do we have any comments shared yet?
Yes, we have 3, 4.
Okay, all right. We'll give everybody another, we have another 40 seconds. If you could start sharing, just typing into the chat box. We have. Can you actually see my timer, Akram? Okay, that's the end of the 2 minutes. Akram, would you like to read a few out? Hi, Akram.
Yes, let me read the first one. This saying, ensure enough knowledge to keep students safe after school reopening process. And the second comment is safe return to school. And then we have comment to help department and others for safe schools and continuity of education. The next comment is restart of teaching learning process. The next is we'll learn how we can support each other for safe reopening of schools.
Mm-hmm.
And then the comment is this will help towards reopening of school. Second comment is support school to resume teaching, learning, safe reopening of schools. Next is capacity building on safe reopening of school after COVID-19. My first goal is to replicate this training to stakeholders, how to manage 6 months education loss and how to prepare students and parents for this challenging situation. Then the next is skills to train others and build a responsible network of trainers. At the end of the training, I would like to help my staff in reopening of school and follow up SOPs.
Great. Okay. Excellent. I think we're all on the same track. We all definitely want the same thing. So let me just switch off my timer. Cancel. Okay, so let's have a look at the purpose of the training. So it's to equip us with knowledge and skills to make decisions to support the safe reopening of schools in Sindh province. So this is the primary purpose of the training, and a lot of you mentioned that in your goals as well. If you could just read through these 3 learning outcomes, please, just to yourself. So the first thing is to make sure that our schools are as safe as possible for teaching and learning to resume. And in this training, we're going to have a look at what those key features are. A second very important point is to support the well-being of all of the education officials and staff. So it's very, very difficult making decisions in a pandemic, and it's not easy, and we have to be very adaptive and flexible. And so many people can get anxious and stressed and upset when they make decisions. So how can we support our education officials and staff during this time? And of course, we don't want it, but we've seen in many countries around the world that COVID-19 comes back. And so how will we support children to keep on learning if there are more smart lockdowns or temporary closures of schools? So here's the agenda, just for a quick look through. We've done the introduction, and we're going to have a look at the key considerations for safe reopening of schools. We're going to look at WASH, social distancing, health, and IPC. We're going to have a short tea break. Then we're going to look at teaching and learning, well-being, and then have a look at the evaluation of the session. So first of all, let's think about what do we need to consider to keep students learning during COVID-19. Students are at the center of the Safe School reopening, and I found a picture here of some students learning in Pakistan. So I want us to do an activity in our homes and wherever we are in our offices to think about what are the key considerations for the safe reopening of schools. So in your notebook, I would like you to just draw up a mind map or do a quick brainstorm. So from the point of view of students, what will they be thinking most about? What will parents be thinking about? What about community leaders in the community, teachers, provincial and district education officers and health workers? What things will they be thinking about? So you can draw a mind map like this in your notebook. You won't have time to fill all of them out, but maybe you could just do 2 or 3. So just think about what the considerations are from a teacher's point of view, parents and family. I'm going to give you just 2 minutes just to make some notes in your notebook, and then we'll get some feedback.
अगर some I think तमाम participants को English में कोई difficulty नहीं है, कोई मुश्किल नहीं है समझने में, and अगर फिर भी कोई problem है तो you can raise your hand, तो उसको translate हम उर्दू में हम कर सकते हैं, बता सकते हैं.
Let's think about parents first. So now I'm experimenting here because I have to admit I have not used a whiteboard on Zoom before, but I saw it being used last week by a friend of mine who was showing me how to use this. So if you've got any ideas for what considerations we need to think about for parents, can you just raise your hand, and I will ask Akram to just say your name and just share any key considerations that we need to think about for parents. Asif, does anybody like to share anything on parents?
Yes, Nida is raised.
Okay, Nida. Please unmute your mic and then share your idea.
Hello. Good morning,
Hi.
everyone.
Good morning.
Jinin.
Neera Jacob here. Actually, my question is that I'm not clear what do you mean about the parent concentration about reopening of the school. Can you make it clear more?
Okay, so for example, when we reopen schools in Sindh province, what do parents need to know, or what would parents be thinking about? What would we want parents to be very, to remember? So for example, I'll give you an example. If a child has a temperature, we don't want the parents to send them to school, do we? So I'm just going to put here, don't send children to
We have other
school.
hands.
Okay, do you want to, I mean, if you just nominate people and then I'll write.
Yes, Allah Nawaz Saab.
Hello, I'm audible?
Yes, you are.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, please.
I think parents are very worried about their children, and they would like to return their children to the school when they will be sure that the school has adopted some SOPs and my children will be safe there. Then that is the concern of the parents, I think.
Yes. Yes. So we'll just put here schools to adopt SOPs. Okay, let's have one more thing about parents. So
We have more hands. Vanessa.
Akram, choose one more person for about parents, and then we'll go on to the next one.
Yes, Miss Nahid.
Ji sir.
Hi.
I want to hello. Hello. Yes, I think that parents are more worried as we see that overall we don't have as much facilities. So here parents have to ensure their kids that they do follow the SOPs, like that they must maintain the social distancing, they should not shake hand, and ensure their kids to wear masks. If the market masks are not available, then they provide by their home of the handmade, and they certainly, if in many schools we do not have, as in interior there's no water facility or the soap facility and the sanitizer, so in that way that little bottles of Dettol spray, so they ask their kids to follow these protocols so that the risk factor may mitigate.
Yes,
Thanks.
very, very good. Thank you. So I'm just going to put one more thing down that I thought about was sending lunch with children so that they don't have to buy lunch. Okay, I'm sure you've got lots and lots of more ideas, but let's go on to thinking about children themselves, because this is why we're doing this training. So if you've got a consideration for children, could you raise your hand, and then Akram is going to share that with us. So let's do children. Akram, over to you. Akram?
Yes.
Okay, who's got their hand up who'd like to share something about children?
We have two hands.
Okay, great. Choose one of them because I can't see them.
Ishtiyaq Qureshi. Yes, over to Ishtiyaq Saab.
Thank you, Akram sir. Actually, I think for children it's important so that they have hand wash facility at school, and they are also aware, they are oriented towards following the SOPs and keeping safe distance. So at school and definitely at home level, a student must be oriented about the SOPs and the importance of keeping it, following the SOPs.
Yes, very, very good. Thank you. Akram, one more.
Yes, we have Allah Nawaz Channa Saab.
I think as we discussed, that parents are worried about the safe return to the children to the school. So they must advise their children to keep safe distance, wash their hands. So children must be worried about how they will keep distance from their friends, how will they keep distance from their teachers, and the wash facility is not available. How can we follow the SOPs?
Yes, very, very important. And I think the thing about what you said about children being worried about going back to school and anxious, I think it's very important that they can discuss worries with their parents or their teachers. Okay, what about teachers? Because these are these are very, our teachers are at the front line, aren't they? They're in the schools teaching children every day. What do you think, what considerations are they thinking about as reopening school comes along quite soon? Akram, could you choose some people, a few of our participants to share ideas about teachers?
Zahir Abbas Saab, can you talk about consideration of
yes.
teachers?
Thank you, Akram sir. Actually, teachers should manage the classroom through social distances. One is this one. Secondly, while teaching, teacher should not hug or shake hand any students. Through this way, they can be prevented also. So these are the two major considerations for the teacher.
Very, very important. Akram, some others?
Ms. Farzana Malha. Ms. Farzana?
Sir, same comments by Mr. Zahir. Don't handshake with friends or classmates.
Fine.
I
Fine.
think this is the children's comment.
Thank you. Meera Hassan Saab.
Assalamu alaikum, Akram sir. The
Walaikum
most important thing regarding the teachers and even with the students is the concerns of implementation of the SOPs. Because teacher is at the center of the class and even in the school. He has to take care how to implement these SOPs in the schools. The children visit the sinks, visit the washrooms, and even touch the desk, and everything is in front of the students. And controlling students and reminding students and saying them kindly follow these SOPs is certainly a big problem for a teacher. Not only for a teacher, but also for headmasters and administration of the school. So we hope teacher will understand the significance and importance of SOPs within the class and within the school. Thank you.
Very, very important. And it's such a change in role, isn't it, for teachers? Because teachers are used to teaching and learning. They're not used to implementing health and safety protocols with children to the extent that they're going to have to do. So it's a big shift in role for teachers. Okay, let's have one more participant's ideas on teachers. Is there anything different that teachers will be thinking about or need to do differently?
Yes, Ms. Farzana Akhtar.
Hello.
Yes, I want to ask that how teachers minimize the fear of spreading COVID-19 among children.
Yeah, this is very, very important, isn't it? So it's about ensuring well-being of students, and we're going to be thinking about that later on in the training. Okay, let's do one more area, which was the head teachers and school administrators and the district officers. So what will the considerations be for the school head teachers and district education officers? Any volunteers? Akram.
Yes, we have hand raised from RSU, Aslam Sumro Saab. Aslam Sumro Saab.
Thank you, Akram, and thank you, Vanessa. I would first of all appreciate the efforts of UNICEF, the RSU team, and the participants in engaging this fruitful exercise, which will definitely be contributing towards the better health safeguards of the students in case of the schools are reopened. So I would really appreciate the efforts of UNICEF. As far as the SOPs and their implementation and the role of teachers, administration, parents, and children themselves is concerned, I would like to point out another aspect of this phenomenon. For example, still in Pakistan, a wide range of people are still suspicious of this phenomenon. Even the world over, they are still not in a position to believe that there really COVID-19 exists. So this culture or this thought might also prevail some of the students, particularly of the higher classes, elementary classes and secondary classes. So there might be some prevalence of the deviant culture. There might be some peer pressure from one group of students to another group of students, humiliating them or wearing of the mask and following up the SOPs. So we, as an administration of the school, as parents, and as the society, should look after this aspect as well, how one segment of students influences another in their peer relationship.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Saab. That was very, very important point. And, you know, even here in New Zealand, wearing masks is now mandatory, and you know, there are just so many people here who don't understand the importance of it and don't want to do it and are not doing it, and it's very, very difficult to convince people if they don't believe in it. But I think, yes, the head teacher's role and the teachers in the classroom and the parents is really to encourage children to do that. And of course, the more children who do wear masks, then eventually it's like a snowball. So then more and more people will do it. But yes, it's very, very difficult. Akram, one or two more people.
Asif has raised.
Well, just to say, thanks to Aslam Somro Saab. Aslam Somro is the Deputy Program Manager for the Reform Support Unit, and he's representing the School Education Department, the Secretariat. And for the information of our participants, that this training is being organized in very, very close collaboration with the Reform Support Unit. So there is an equal effort from RSU side as well. And a few of the points which Aslam Somro Saab has mentioned, I think these are the guiding principles, and that will guide not only you but ourselves as well as we move forward with this important training in Sindh province. Over, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Asif. Thank you. Okay, Akram, is anybody else would like to contribute?
Yes.
Specifically thinking about head teachers and education officers.
Allah Vadayo Rajpar.
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I would like to appreciate you that you have made titanic efforts in this situation. Teachers, students, headmistresses, even the high officials are responsible for creating such meetings in order to ensure that COVID-19 is existed. Some of the people do believe that it has never been happened, but such efforts will be fruitful when these SOPs will go hand in hand or will prove later and spread. Once again, I do appreciate your titanic efforts only to mobilize the students in no time, because there are many issues. Inshallah, they will be resolved with the passage of time. This step to be taken wisely and sensibly, I do appreciate.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. We have, Vanessa, we have a few points in the chat room as well.
May I have,
Yes.
sir? May I have, sir?
Is
Yes,
that Ms.
Farzana. Yes, Farzana.
Sir, may I have, sir, avoid assemblies or sports games and other events that create crowded conditions. I think both activities are avoided in school.
Yes, thank you, Fazana. That is in the SOPs to reduce assemblies or to have assemblies only in the classroom. And any other events in school should also not be taking place at the moment. Yes. Okay, we're going to move on. There is going to be some opportunities to share further on in the training. But for those of you who are interested as master trainers, this whiteboard now can be saved here. So I'm going to press save. So it says saved. And then later on, I can send that to you. And if you do this with your participants, you'll be able to send this and share this with them. So it's just, I'm going to stop sharing this screen now. And I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so we're going to move on now, and we're going to have a look at the 4 priority areas that we're actually going to discuss in detail in this training session. You've mentioned most of them. So we've got WASH, social distancing, health and infection prevention and control, and teaching and learning. And Asif, Akram and I are going to take it in turns to do some of these different areas. And first we're going to have a look at WASH considerations in school. Now, in the Safe Reopening of Schools Guide, which all of you have and would be good to read before you do the training yourself, there is quite a detailed section and background for each of these 4 different sections. And there is some data on, for example, the numbers of schools that have wash facilities, the numbers of schools that don't have water, and some different things that schools can do for different situations. But I just want you to just read through these points on the screen without me talking. First and most important consideration to think about for reopening of schools is whether there is water available in schools for children and staff to wash their hands, because as we know, the virus is killed by hand washing. So it's very, very important that schools prepare for reopening by considering the different considerations that are on this on the screen here, and these are outlined in the Safe Reopening Guide as well and in the SOPs. So one of the things that will happen in many schools in Sindh province is that schools might not have water, and so we need to think about what will schools do if they don't have water. And we're encouraging schools to work with provincial and district leaders and SMCs and parents to discuss this and to provide alternate resources. So thinking about the quality of water, whether there is water, and so on. Let's just have a think about how can we get water to a school if it doesn't have water, or what alternatives could schools use if they don't have water? So I'm going to give you just a couple of minutes to think about this, to write ideas either in the chat box directly or in your notebook, and then choose your best idea to put in the chat box. So just a couple of minutes to think about how can schools get water if they don't have